In our work with leaders, we have identified 12 different gaps, leadership gaps, that if, as a leader, you don't close those, you're going to struggle. One of them is the feedback gap. What we mean by that is there is a gap between how often and what kind of feedback you as a leader think you need to offer to your team, and what kind of feedback and how often do they need from you. So in other words, there is a gap between what you think they need and what they actually need in order to perform well. And we have found that as leaders, sometimes we believe things are clear. Like, isn't that clear? Well, maybe it is clear for you, but I'm not sure if it's clear for everyone. So when someone on your team has a great job presentation or meeting with a client, and if you don't give them that kind of feedback, if you don't praise them for that, and you say, well, of course they've done a great job. Yeah, but have you tell that to them? Well, do I need to? I mean, it's obvious that they've done a great job. Let me tell you a secret. Yes, you have to. Your team lives on recognition. And also, it pays to know what to recognize your team for. Some want to be recognized as a team member, a great team player. Others want to know that you're not just interested in their results, you're interested in them as a person. You see these collaborations as a long-term, mutually beneficial collaboration. Others need recognition and feedback, positive feedback on their quality of work. Others need to hear that about their determination. So it really pays to know what kind of feedback should you give to each of your team members, and how often should that be? Do you see a behavior in your team that maybe doesn't align with your goals and values and culture in your organization? Should you give feedback on that? When should you do that? Yes, you should give feedback on that when it happens, immediately, to kind of set the stage and say, hey, this is not a behavior that it's aligned with our values. So people know exactly that that's not acceptable. And then when things have cooled down, then you sit with that team member and debrief and help them understand why that is not a productive behavior, neither for them or for the team. How is that potentially impacting the team? But we have found so many times that there is a gap between what leaders think, the kind of feedback that they think they need to offer, and when. And usually it's just we have a development talks, and that's when I offer feedback. Yeah, you do, but that's a very formal meeting, and that's maybe once a year or 2 times a year. Like, you don't have to wait for that. Think about if you give feedback to someone about something that happened 6 months ago. They don't even remember that. So there is a gap between what your team expects and what actually they need in order to navigate performance, and what we are taught to say, what we're taught to do, and what we are taught to offer. And as a leader, you really need to close that gap. Remember, the feedback gap.